Good morning. It's nice to meet you finally. My name is Nicole Saint John, and I will be your lab instructor for the next 5 months. You may have already noticed that I have an accent, and it's true that I'm not from Bakersfield or the US. In fact, I was born and raised in Germany, and I spent a significant part of my life there. Although I'm currently a lab professor, my career path has been quite diverse. I started off by studying art and worked as a graphic designer and artist, and for a while I even worked as a museum curator. When I came to Bakersfield because of my American husband, I began teaching art to children and adults with disabilities. I enjoyed it so much that I decided to pursue a degree that would allow me to turn this into a career. So I started studying psychology. However, as time went on, I became more and more interested in biology and I changed my major. So fast forward, I graduated with a human biological sciences degree and added postgraduate studies in lab sciences while still teaching art and German and also human biology. Well, enough about me. I'll start now by beginning or giving you an overview of what to expect from this lab and what I need from you. After that, we'll take some time to get to know each other a little bit, and then we will jump right in and get started with the first lab. And towards the end of the lab session, I will remind you to pick up one of these index cards, write your name on it, and answer the following question. What is your professional goal? What are your hobbies? And how do you study? I will collect the cards, but there's no need to worry. This is just a way for me to get to know you better. And when we meet for the first one-on-one meeting during my office hours. So these meetings, by the way, are mandatory. And my office hours are on Mondays and Tuesdays from noon to 1. And then I can do also appointments via Zoom. So what to expect from this lab? Of course, over the 5 months program, you already have seen it in your syllabus. We will cover all the essential materials required in an AP lab. You will get to learn about the bones and muscles using models. You study cells and tissues under the microscope and perform dissection. We have a sheep brain, we have a cow's eye, and then we do the fetal pick. But apart from these, we have activities such as role plays, experiments, and working with medical devices. You will need to use your critical thinking skills to figure out conditions by conducting tests or interpreting case studies. And you will have to demonstrate your knowledge by drawing, describing, writing, and explaining concepts. So for most of the lab, you will be working in teams. For your lab teams, they will be assigned. And please do not confuse lab teams with study groups because our lab teams will be changing. So we will be changing the team members of the lab groups frequently. And the reason for this is to get you acquainted with different people and make you a really good team player before you enter the hospital setting in the near future. So speaking of study groups, I have really highly recommend forming study groups as most students benefit from them. All right, let's see. Here are the ground rules for working in the lab. So of course, treat each other kindly and with respect. Keep personal conversation to a minimum to avoid disturbing other students who are studying nearby. So it's important to remember that this rule can be easily broken, so I won't hesitate to remind you about it if needed. So now let me get my index card here. Be on time. So you cannot be late as a nurse either, because, patients can die. And that being said, next time onward, please ensure that you keep your backpacks outside the lab. Uh, um, we have a designated area for that. We have food and drinks are not allowed in the lab. So, but you can use the cart outside of the door to temporarily keep your drink. And if you need to take a sip, you may step out and do it. Using your phone for texting and talking is strictly prohibited while you're in the lab. If you have any emergency and need to leave, please let me know. I will share additional rules before we start with the dissection. We won't have to worry about them right now. So let me talk about homework and handouts for a moment. Typically, you will receive a handout that will help you navigate through the various stations that we will be setting up. These handouts have descriptions, instructions, and questions for you to answer when you have finished the lab and have answered all the questions in the handout. You'll receive a stamp for your finished work product, and typically after that, you will sign out with your QR code, and then you are free to leave. Now, homework, you will be assigned homework mainly from your lab book. Homework is due at the beginning of lab. Again, you will receive a stamp for your homework. If you do not have your homework, I cannot stamp it, and I'll have to mark it in my list. So please remember that you will lose points that count towards your grade if you miss homework. Practicums. Besides your quizzes and exams that Professor J is proctoring, you will also have 3 practicums, and those count for 15%. That is a big number. So these are 15% of your grade in anatomy. The first one is the bones practicum, and then we have the muscle practicum, and the last one is a dissection practicum. And those practicums are not multiple choice, and we will talk about them in more detail in a few weeks. So at this point, do you have any question, any concerns, or any comments? So since there are no more questions, let's play future nurse bingo. So each of you will receive a bingo card with various statements on it. For instance, one square says, I have learned how to draw blood. Or the other square reads, I wear a shoe size 9. And so now the objective is to find someone in the room who can fulfill the statement, and you write their name down in the square. You cannot use your own name, and you cannot use duplicate names. So you have to find one person for each square. So you have about 10 minutes time, and then we will determine who is the bingo queen or bingo king. So good luck. So now that you have met many of your classmates and know their shoe sizes, let's take a moment to exchange phone numbers or email addresses with 2 of your peers. This way you have, if you have any questions about homework assignments, or you want to start a study group or have other questions, you can easily communicate with them. When you're done with this, let's start with our first lab assignment, and our students will do like a few of them. And at the end of class, I will say, before you leave, please grab one of the index cards we talked about earlier in class. Take 5 minutes to answer the questions on the card. I have written them also on the whiteboard. Hand them back to me. If you are interested in having your mandatory meeting already today, it won't take more than 10 minutes. You can let me know. I still have, I think, 3 slots available, and I will review your answers you have written on your little index cards over the next weeks while we're setting up the other mandatory meetings. So be sure to get your first done before you leave, and see you next week in class again.